Now we will begin the lecture in earnest. First, as the first lecture, the present future of the learning ethics, education in design and art field. Professor Ji-in Kim of the Department of Design at Seokyeong will give the presentation.
Be given by Professor Ji-in Kim from the Division of Design at Seokyeong University on the topic The Present and Future of Learning Ethics in Design and Art. 네, 교수님 진행.
The floor is yours, Professor.
안녕하세요.
Nice to meet you, everyone. My name is Kim Ji-in. My topic today is current and future of learning ethics education in design and art. At our institute, starting from 2019, we have been supported by the National Research Institute, and we have conducted various projects. And today, I would like to share our results of that project for the last 6 years. First of all, I would like to introduce the background. There have been a frequent plagiarism issues in design and art field. For a genuine change, as a professional artist, before they dive into the professional career, I believed we should provide a decent education. That's why we pay attention to the ethics education. As all the scholars should be based on the ethics, there should be a design major specific ethics so that we can solve the repeated problems. That's what we thought when we started these projects. However, most ethics materials were focusing on the human studies or the pure science. That means that it doesn't reflect the characteristics of the design and art major education. That's why we realized the need for the learning ethics training suitable for design and art majors. And that is why we dive into several projects to develop such ethics rules. And the basic framework is not focusing on the discipline and punishment. Rather, we try to pay attention to prevention and education, because ethics should not bother or hinder students' potential. After 2022, we focus on art, but before that, we focus on design. And we have three phases, and the last one is focusing on AI and future. Now, let me share the results. So with the direction of the positive changes in the ethics, the most important part we thought was that we have to combine the design classes and the learning ethics education so that our students are naturally exposed to the ethics. Most design classes are basically a practicum classes. And based on Jackie Gersten and Barbara Bray's theory, I tried to come up with some methods to have these ethics naturally exposed to the students. So it should be not only students as a beneficiary, because we want to hold these classes while delivering the contents of the ethics. And that means that both students and the professors should be the beneficiaries of this ethics education. And through all the professors on site, we need to deliver these concepts of ethics to the professors as well. For myself, I teach about 150 students a semester. And if I can cover 10 professors who cover 100 plus students, and that means that we can cover 1,000 students who will be exposed to this ethics education. And these are the overall process. First, we try to find out the status, some examples of academic dishonesty, and after that, in phase 2, we try to analyze these issues. And we were thinking what we should do as professors, or what other ethical issues that we need to specifically apply to the design classes. And in the phase 3, we developed the teaching materials for professors and the learning guidelines for students. And after that, we applied these solutions. And after that, also, we conducted analysis and improvement. We have lots to cover, but I want to show a few highlights. And we did some survey conducted for the status among 114 professors and the 298 students. Over 90% of professors haven't done any ethics education in their classes, and about 75% of professors witnessed the dishonesty-related activities of students. And that means that high level of dishonesty and the lack of ethics education. Over 75% of professors said that they have an experience to talk to the students that they need to correct their dishonesty. However, only 14% of professors actually provide a resolution, and only 5% just deducted their grades towards the end of the semester. So that means that over 75% of the cases were neglected by the professors to correct this dishonest behaviors. And among the student survey, we have a consistency between the professors and the students in terms of a lack of ethics education. And 68% of the students also witnessed some cheating related activities. And importantly, we found out only 11% of students actually advised their peer students to quit that cheating. Over 73.8% just overlooked and ignored that behavior, which is surprising. So why do those professors neglect those phenomenon? Why do those students ignore these activities and not try to correct their peer students? These are the status. Therefore, we gathered 10 professors and 9 students to conduct a focused group interview. And through this interview, we found out it is hard to prevent such activities. And also, we realized that there is an absence of a criteria for academic misconduct. Interestingly, professors themselves sometimes do not have a clear criteria to decide any dishonest activities or any cheating activities happening in the class, and they have an internal conflict. And those professors sometimes hear the reporting of students talking about their peers cheating, and they just thought it's a whistleblowing activities and they do not want to take care of it. On the other hand, among the focus group interviews with 9 students, in terms of causal conditions, there was a difficulties in judging academic misconduct. And also, in terms of a contextual conditions, there's a negative conception and perception of a reporting academic misconduct, and they do not want to ruin their relationship with their peer students. So meaning that there's a lack of a ethics education provided by professors that doesn't give a confidence to the students, and there's an ambiguity of both students and the professors to take some actions to correct these dishonest activities. Earlier, I mentioned that some people witnessed cheating among students, but it was neglected. Meaning that there should be guideline in education to correct those actions. And at the same time, we should run some sort of a rules and conduct so that the students don't go to that directions. So as a solutions, we came up with the teaching materials for professors. Here, there are some tips that professors can find regarding what type of content they want to inform their students. For example, in early stages, they can inform some rules and the punishment in case of any cheating or dishonest behaviors. And also, there's a checklist whether the professors can evaluate themselves, whether they define the academic misconduct earlier for the students. And also, we have the learning guidebook for students, and a design process note was created for students to utilize. And this should be distributed by the professors during the class. And also for the professor's evaluation, this is a part of the item. And also professors should be able to trace any student's activities, whether they copy anybody's image or in the course of a assignment production, maybe students ask some outside party to help them, and we try to help them to prevent such activities. Design note can help them to gather their idea and the reference that they used so that they try to avoid the plagiarism in more visual way. More importantly, all these teaching materials should be useful, and we wanted to test whether it's useful. Martinage and Stage's TMI model was combined and referenced by us, and in the stage of the experience, students can use their design note, and then at the end of the semester, they can do their checklist. And through all these activities, we can still provide the practical curriculum for the students, and they can be exposed to the decent content of the ethics education. A total of 103 students were under our survey. Over 90% of students answer that this type of ethics education was very useful and effective to prevent any plagiarism. And to compare before and after the class, students became more capable of any idea collecting or design assignment abilities, and they improved between week 2 and week 15. And also, it was a great news that this didn't hinder the curriculum itself, and that means that we reached the goal. Additionally, we try to encourage our students to use the design note, and we also had a group interview among those students who used the design note. And through the journey map, we realized that elimination of the factors that cause negative emotions during writing the design research note process, and that was a result and one positive sign from our analysis. And based on this analysis, we improved the 2 types of checklists as well as a guidebook, and the design process note are usually utilized for our ethics education in our class. When we do the public presentation or any critique, we added 2 more checklists. For example, Student A seemed to be influenced by plagiarism according to the checklist. And depending on the professor's class running, maybe it would be a great opportunity for the professor to check what happened in class, or sometimes based on this checklist, the students can suggest any correction of a professor's. And we try to ease the burden for both professors and the students. Design process note shouldn't be a burden. Rather, it could be a self-reflection material. And you don't have to specifically download any app or application or any program through the Google Drive. They can keep updating their design note. And that way, students can utilize design note more. And we are now conducting more trainings for both professors and students regarding how to utilize this design note. Next, art section, especially painting parts. So as a design majors, art classes also are basically practical and practicum classes. And also we believe that they have a absence of a learning ethics education. So we introduced the TASC model. And this is the process of a research. We first touched upon the status of the art education and what kind of perception of learning misconduct happening at the moment. And after that, we did the case study by collecting all the plagiarism cases. Based on that, we provided a guidebook for both professors and students, and through focus group interview, we validated our method. And after that, we created a teaching materials for professors and the learning guidelines for students. Among 102 professors and the 156 students were under our survey. And we asked reasons for academic dishonesty. Students are exposed to lots of information, and because of a relative grading, students were under competition. 57% of professors said that they witnessed the cheating, and once they witnessed the cheating, 73% of a students 73% of the professors actually guided the students that that's a part of a plagiarism. But sometimes some professors didn't explain what the students were doing or whether they just deducted the scores. That was almost over 20% of the test respondent. And that's the same as the design major as well. 72% of the students actually went through ethics education, which is much higher than design major students. However, they actually witnessed more cheating, which was 83% of students. We were wondering why this happened. Maybe there are more cheaters, or maybe the criteria to decide cheating is more strict in this major. And we also conducted a survey among the students to ask the reasons for academic dishonesty. A lot of people, actually 15% of students said that there's not enough punishment. 13% of the professors actually said that there are not enough rules or punishment for the students. So that's quite interesting. There's a discrepancy between the professors and the students. Also, when cheating was found, 33% of the students said that they didn't do any actions, but over 40% of people actually informed this information to their professors, or they took active actions. And that means that's quite different than the design major students, because over 70% of design major students just neglected that event. And based on such status survey, we realized that first, there was no shared criteria of plagiarism. Number two, there is a lack of understanding of a expression of art. So sometimes there's a discrepancy between those who claim that their copyright is infringed and those who were under suspicious of infringe any right. So people are sensitive about the plagiarism, although they don't have a much of understanding. Over 80% of students are sensitive to the plagiarism, and their standard is pretty high to decide whether anything is based on plagiarism. In fact, a lot of students actually have been taking active actions, but they want to be cautious by having self-critique or any criteria that can help them to decide other people's behavior. So we conducted some survey of any legal cases in terms of copyright infringement or any plagiarism in that field in order to draw a guideline. So there are some types. So for example, sometimes it's absolutely intentional, but sometimes just because the art has the same place or same composition or same expression. So sometimes it's very vague to decide whether anything is based on plagiarism. And we pulled up 9 types of a plagiarism. I just want to take one example among them. If you look at this picture, the materials are the same, so it looks similar. And this was an actual case of artist A filing a lawsuit against the artist B, and after 8 years of a court cases, artist B actually won the case. They actually used the rubber elastic band, but there is obviously a difference. Like A focused on the illumination, and artist B focused on the actual space. So artist B had a concept of inconvenience. So when we decide the similarity or plagiarism, we need to equip ourselves with a lot of perspective. So before we have a final decision, there should be some criteria to help students to decide whether anything is based on plagiarism. So we also created a guidebook and checklist that can be helpful for the design major people and the art major people. Checklist for students include checklist of academic integrity rules for art classes. And before you raise the issue of a plagiarism, you can also utilize another checklist that we created. So first, it's important to decide any art falls into any category of homage, parody, or appropriation or plagiarism. So these are the results that reflect the characteristics of the design and art majors. So to analyze our work, we additionally had a focus group interview among 6 professors and 3 students. And we also received the written advice from 5 artists and critics. Some professors worried about these criteria that may limit a students, and we are now modifying our guideline based on their advice. Last but not least, based on this learning ethics materials, Wallace Berdinet had a TSSC model, and we applied that. And in the first stage, we focused on the learning ethics. And in the second stage, plagiarism, appropriation, and copyright are the 3 main points that we focus in the class. Idea generation, visualization, and communication should go on non-stop through the design note, and then based on the professor's workshop, I believe that we can apply this to our actual curriculum. So based on such 6 years of a work and research, we continue to develop ethics content and checklist and the teaching material. But after 6 years, we have more to resolve, and I believe you are all on the same page. That is AI. Artificial intelligence is already deeply rooted in our lives. Not only at your work, at home, it has immersive influence. And that reminds me of a McNor's mediums theory. So AI is now somehow becoming a part of our body even. So at our classes, how can we accept this concept of AI? And first, we need to look up what kind of the artistic art pieces are out there available based on the AI. And as a result, AI is used as a tool to create some art piece, but also it's increase efficiency. But it can be also used to have a recreation. But sometimes we can do repeated prompt input to have the result we want, and that's how much AI is infinite. And we have these 5 categories in terms of use of AI in design classes. So sometimes we will get a help from the AI, but how much we allow the AI in the human activities, and that's something that we need to keep focusing on. Then at what extent should we allow AI to come into our AI and design education? These are some issues and many more issues that need to be solved and overcome and focused by our design institute of our university. And I believe here at now, all of you will give us more insight in the future, and that wraps up my presentation. Thank you.
네,
Thank you very much, Professor Kim. So she touched upon how Seokyeong University conducted a learning ethics education in their classes, and she introduced all kinds of cases, and I believe that these can be further utilized in the education in the university. Let us ask questions. We actually collected the questions in advance, and I will pick a few to deliver to the professor. First question. There are more and more AI artists you can find these days. And yes, we get a help from AI, but how much is it meaningful, and to what extent can AI's work be considered as an artist's work? And I would like to hear from Professor Kim. Thank you very much for the question. I believe the last part, the 5 category of the AI arts, I believe that can answer the question. I believe AI can be a trigger of idea or a tool for recreation, or you can utilize the AI for the additional creation. I believe these are ideal use of AI. But I believe in actual field of art, it could be different. So continuous input of prompt and parameter will be more utilized in at the professional level, and I believe that should be considered as a art. So text prompt can replace paintbrushes, but this is just my personal idea. I'm not sure about the copyright or any other issues in design and art. will accommodate how much extent of AI. I'm not sure, but we need to focus on discussing. Thank you very much. That was Professor Kim Ji-in of Seokyeong University and her presentation.